Yay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Zack Snyder Justice League spoiler review, a rant. We have a lot of things that we have to say about this 4 hour long movie filled with 6 chapters. I am your host, Dana Abercrombie. I'm the entertainment editor over at Koalition.com. I am joined by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Dana. What's up, listeners and viewers?
And we have the one and only Mr. Tony Polanco. How are you?
I'm great. This is not a video game podcast, but I'm going to use a quote from Doom. I'm ready to rip and tear.
Oh dear. Well, hide your holes because he's ready to tear it. So, as everyone knows, the journey to the Zack Snyder Justice League is a very long one. Started off with an online campaign. People were really adamant that there was this cut that existed, and Tony was really excited when they finally announced that yes, not only is this cut existing, but it's going to be released. And so the Warner Brothers Studios basically spent $70 million doing a lot of reshoots, a lot of touch-ups, a lot of putting footage back in, and we got this journey, which is a 4 hour long journey that completely, not going to say wipes away the Justice League, but what it does is I felt it kind of improves it. So it starts off kind of like we've seen, before, but it's kind of much better in the sense that it starts off with, we have Superman from Batman v Superman when he was being killed by Doomsday. His screams kind of reverberate throughout the lands, and we see it doing Aquaman's little land area, and it goes to Wonder Woman over where they're at, and it just, Cyborg, everyone else, and all these different planets basically hear the screams of Superman. And as a result, there is this mother box that kind of, let me know if I'm telling it right, that kind of awakens, and we know that Darkseid and Darkseid, and Steppenwolf, they hear this. This means that the box is open, and it's not just necessarily, oh yay, the box. It's the fact that Superman, who is the protector of Earth, and you have these creatures who are terrified of him, so they're not able to come in to Earth to invade because of Superman. They are now realize he's dead, so we can come in. Hope I explained that correctly. So now that we got that set up, I felt that there was more clarity to the plot of the movie, because in the previous we didn't really get this at all, and it just kind of felt like everything was randomly thrown together. I don't know how you guys felt about that.
Yeah, real quick, Dana, your mic's crackling.
Oh dear Lord.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know if we need to do that again.
Justice League.
No, we don't hear you.
Muted.
Nope. I don't hear nothing. Do not hear that sweet, beautiful voice of yours. I know she can hear us, though.
I can. I was muted. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. That's it.
Okay, no more crackling, but now you sound like you're in... that's better than crackling. You sound like you're in a empty room. Can you say something?
Something?
Hey, the popo coming. Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. You're better.
I'm good now. Okay.
Yeah. This is the podcast hosting. He's like, I gotta get the audio right, bruh. But no, you pretty much nailed it. That's the basic story. That was done, by the way. The whole Superman screams going on for 10 minutes.
No.
I'm like, really? How is that? No, but how is that even possible? Superman is powerful, but he's not that powerful. His scream should have just reverberated within maybe a 10-mile radius of him at most, not the entire planet. But I'm glad I saw that, because at the same time it let me know just how silly this was going to be. So I'm like, Tony, just don't take this shit that seriously, because it's just going to be a dumb ride, and it was
so messed up.
So the point I will add is, I think that's a very good point by Tony. When I saw that, to me, I guess it's supposed to tell the viewer, this lets you know how important Superman is and how much of a role he plays in all of this whenever they finally have their initial battle at the end of the movie. So I guess that's what they were trying to tell people, but a little silly, as Tony said.
No, to me, I thought that it made perfect sense. You have this being, we all know he's there to protect Earth.
Yeah.
And we know how strong and powerful he is. And in the previous version, none of that was kind of there, and it really didn't make any sense. We had no explanation of what caused the mother boxes to activate. We had no reason as to why Steppenwolf would be there to collect them, to create the unity. And so with this and the screaming, you have this guy. He's not going to just be like, ow, it hurts. His scream is that strong and that powerful.
Yeah.
And, if it's connected,
he's not Black Bolt though. He can't do that. Like his scream is going to be powerful. Obviously, it's going to reverberate around his immediate area, but not around the whole planet. Superman is not that powerful. This is not Silver Age Superman where he could like shoot little versions of himself out of his hand or turn into a lion or turn back time. Like he can't do that. So I know I'm nitpicking right now, but that was the whole thing was just dumb. I understand the symbolism, but it was stupid.
Oh gosh. There will be okay, fine then. Basically, so after he's dead now, and you kind of see that his death means a lot to poor little Lois Lane. She doesn't really have much here but to cry, but you kind of see how the death affects everyone. And what I kind of felt was that it goes into these separate storylines where we follow all 6 of the characters, which I know you kind of hated, but it explains, like, Victor Stone, he has one of the mother boxes in his closet, which is kind of weird, but whatever. And you kind of see that it's shaking and moving. And we see that all the different boxes in their locations are all shaking and moving. And this is kind of where we get, Steppenwolf comes in as the big baddie. And this is a beautiful, I thought it was a great scene where it shows him decimating the lands of, I forgot where Wonder Woman takes place, that land.
Oh, Themyscira?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That one. So it shows how he's like, all powerful, and how he is attacking all of the land in order to get this box, and how, the women are there to kind of protect the box, get it away from him. And we have some really great shots, I thought, of them trying to defeat him and also protect the box and get it away from him. I don't know how you felt about that.
You're rich.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest, I could have swore that some of that was in the original Justice League. But when I saw
the
this,
Cyborg part was not.
Oh no, the Cyborg, no, but that whole thing with the battle, I thought it was great. I think we already knew that they were going to be unsuccessful because this is the very start of the movie, and this is a 4-hour movie. So yes, it's a great attempt to get the box away from Steppenwolf, but obviously they were not going to be successful. But I thought it was great as far as the special effects, the visuals, all that stuff was cool. So I didn't have a problem with that. I was okay with it.
Yeah, and this is something I'm going to bring up a lot during this podcast. A lot of these scenes would have had more resonance had we had films to lead up to it, right? Obviously, we had the Wonder Woman movie, so we knew who these characters were. But when Justice League originally came out, we were like, okay, that's the Amazons, that's cool. I don't really know any of these people, so it just didn't have the weight it should have, which a lot of these scenes didn't. It was like, okay, who's this, who's that? Like, none of it had any weight. And because remember, I'm not going to completely bash this movie. Zack Snyder, one of the very best visual directors out there. His movies look gorgeous. This movie looks fantastic. Every scene looks great, right? None of that. That's not my problem with it, right? As a matter of fact, I was a huge Zack Snyder fan until he, Batman vs Superman, just like, what are you doing, bro? But the visuals was great, and I think he handles the Amazons way better than what Patty Jenkins, I believe her name is, the director of Wonder Woman movies. They feel fucking visceral and raw. Like, these women look dangerous, the way they should be. So I really like the way he handled them, And by the way, and this is because Zack Snyder's not going to be the only guy we're going to bash here. We got to toss Joss Whedon under the bus here because somebody brought this to my attention. It's very true. A lot of the scenes he cut out. And yes, I'm making it racial. A lot of scenes he cut out were all the black characters, all the black Amazons. He cut all of them out. Cut out Martian Manhunter. He cut out all that Victor Stone stuff. He cut out Iris West. There's a pattern here, bro. Just saying.
And the Asian scientist.
Yeah, he cut out I forgot his name. Choi, I believe he is. He's gonna be the Atom, which I'm like, bro, that would have been dope. But we already had too many characters in this anyway. But Amazon battle was cool. Steppenwolf, one of the few good things about this movie, because he's a villain that actually has some motivation. Not a lot, but it's something. You're like, okay, he wants to get this mother box to redeem himself in the eyes of Darkseid, his master. Cool. You don't need that much more for a villain. So he's motivated. I like that. The other one, by the way, I saw like a side comparison between Steppenwolf now and before. I forgot how corny he looked in the Whedon one, you know?
I saw that comparison.
Yeah, like the new one, my man has like ray tracing enabled, you know, with all those spikes and stuff coming out. It's crazy. But the battle was good. Love the Amazons. They were dope. Like, again, I love how Zack Snyder, how fierce he made them. You know, they're kind of tame in the Patty Jenkins one. And we'll get to this later. Wonder Woman in this movie kicked fucking ass. Way better than in her own films. The first one, she was good, don't get me wrong, but better than our 84 nonsense, you know, but we'll get into that. But Amazon's shit was cool. And
they gave her words now to her theme song.
Yes.
It was just really great. That was wonderful. Oh, and then also speaking about Steppenwolf, you know, he kind of uses a pawn. He's just trying to get back into the good graces, which I thought was a really great kind of character development, where he cast him out of Apocalypse, right? That's right. That's how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so now he's been forced. It's not like he's willingly trying to do this. He's been forced to destroy the worlds in order to get back into the good graces of Darkseid. Side.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So he's essentially, you know, just doing this to not be murdered, essentially. So you kind of, I'm not saying that you feel for it, but there's dimension to that character. There's a reason of why he's doing it instead of just being the guy who's smashing things and fighting. You know, he has an entire backstory. To me, it felt like, and I thought that was a massive improvement. And also when we get into Darkseid, you know, you see how they not necessarily work hand in hand, but how they, in a sense, a way, kind of tag team moment. I kind of compared that to, remember if you watch the Avengers, any of the Avengers with Thanos, and how he would send out his minions. So you had the Dark Order, then you had Loki, and everybody was acting for him. That kind of reminded me of that dynamic, even though this came out first, technically.
Yeah. It's by the way, fun little fact. Thanos in the comics was actually inspired by Darkseid. Yeah, like the guy who created him, Jim Starlin, excuse me. He based it off of Darkseid, and they kind of look the same. So, you know, they have the similar goals, you know, except like, you know, Darkseid's an actual god. That's like the only kind of difference. I think Darkseid's more powerful than Thanos, because Thanos needs that gauntlet to make him really powerful. Darkseid is just like that, just naturally, you know. But yeah, that's a fun fact. Thanos was inspired by Darkseid.
Oh, very nice. Well, what also I wanted to touch upon is they extended a lot of like the characters, especially with Batman, Wonder Woman. We all know about Cyborg. They kept saying he was the heart of the movie, and I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about, because all we saw previously was like just him digging a grave and plugging into things. And he actually has a full storyline and a full arc that I thought was great. But to touch on Wonder Woman really quickly, the scenes that they cut out was the bank scene, which to me, this is how you establish a character without all of that exposition that we needed for the other characters. It was her, you know, going after the bad guy, and she's, you know, fighting and whipping, and she's doing her little hand thing, and, you know, the guy's exploding out, and then there's a girl. You know, everybody stands up, they get ready, and she's just on the floor, and she's like, can I be like you one day? And she's like, no, you can be whatever you want to be. That right there was the most impactful scene for her character and her arc, and it represents what Wonder Woman is, not just to the comics or herself or where she came from, but also to other people and also to other women. So I thought that was an incredible scene that I don't understand why they cut out, unless you want to make this about, you know, he doesn't like women that much. Not sure how you both felt about that. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. We heard the stories about Joss Whedon, you know. But yeah, no, the Wonder Woman, every single scene with Wonder Woman I liked. Again, I don't like this movie. I like Wonder Woman, every single scene, right? Here's the thing, which I thought was interesting. she actually doesn't have a character arc at all. She's static, but that's good because she's an icon, and we already knew about her, but she was an icon, and she kind of held, at least to me, she held that team together. You know, everybody else was kind of flipping and flopping. She was just there. You know, Batman too, he was pretty rigid. As Batman didn't have a character. He did more than
cracking jokes.
He learned. He got some redemption. But Wonder Woman, she was an icon, which I think was great. And again, all her action scenes were dope. Like you got to see it. And now that I think about it, it would have been nice because if every character would have had a moment just like her, where it's very quick, very short, but gets to the heart of who they are. You know, like Flash's scene. I'm like, bro, why is this going on for 10 minutes with this hot dog? You know, touching this woman like that. You know, you could have had him just being like you know, doing some Barry Allen stuff around the city, helping out. That would have been good. But at the same time, and maybe we'll bring this up later when we talk about him. Okay, because in the first one, he was like the Flash, right? But he wasn't powerful enough. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you could have ended this whole thing in 2 minutes ago. Why didn't you? But in this movie, you see that he's actually self-conscious, right? He's very reluctant. He doesn't feel sure about himself. So, like, oh, that's why he's not kicking ass. He doesn't believe in himself. So he actually had a character arc that was not there before, you know, which is cool. So I did enjoy that. But yeah, Wonder Woman, no complaints whatsoever. She's dope.
Richard,
Rich?
Yeah, by far the best character. In my personal opinion, when I saw the original Justice League, I also thought she was the strongest character of everyone that they highlighted. And this, obviously, way better, more context. So I agree. The best of all of them, in my personal opinion. No offense to the other characters, but yeah. And you know, Wonder Woman, the movie was great. 1984. I don't even want to think about that movie ever again.
Tell me your wish.
I'm gonna say this right. Yeah. I'm gonna say this right now. Fucking Justice League was 4 hours long, and it fell shorter than that Wonder Woman movie. You know, because it at least had momentum. It at least kept going. See, I don't have everything bad to say about the movie. This movie was way better than Wonder Woman. Way better than Wonder Woman 1884. That movie was boring. Rich, I'm surprised that didn't put you to sleep. You know. But we're not ragging on that.
No, you're right. 100% correct.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Steve Trevor kind of saved that.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Don't get me started
and going
on.
Oh dear. Going off a little bit with Wonder Woman, what was a really important scene that they put in there was the fact that after, you know, she learned about the mother boxes when she went to the temple that was on fire. Remember after I can't pronounce the word, but the Amazon land.
Yeah.
Themyscira, you know, I think it was her mom or one of them. They shot the arrow of Artemis, and it ended up going into the Amazon temple, and it caused a fire that never burns. And that's how she was watching the news, you know, and she was able to see what's going on. So she went to that temple, and that's how she learned.
I need to. I'm sorry, Dana, because I don't want the Greek people getting mad at us. It was the Acropolis. Okay. She shot it into the Acropolis in Athens. It's because I don't want the Greek people getting mad at us. So she shot it into an actual real place. Yeah.
Okay. I should retake Greek mythology again. Sorry. But she shot it in. Shout out to the Greeks. We love you. She shot the arrow. Then that's how she learned about the mother boxes. And if you watch the previous version, it kind of seems like her knowledge just comes out of nowhere. And you just wonder, like, why are you just randomly telling us now? If you already knew, but now it kind of makes sense, you know, and then she's able to relay all of the information to Bruce. And, you know, with this one, speaking of Bruce Wayne, with Batman, we see a little bit more of him, you know, working on his equipment and his gizmos and gadgets, which explains why later on he doesn't necessarily die when Superman zaps him with his eyes. So that makes a lot of more sense. So little things that just help to make the movie make sense more. And we get more of Jeremy Irons as Alfred during this time, and he's kind of really witty, and it's really great because remember in the previous version, Batman was the one who was carrying a lot of weird, kind of sexist jokes, and also kept really hating on Steve Trevor, and they removed all of that. So that was nice to see as well. I know that Batman seemed to be kind of more purpose-driven. He was like technically kind of laid back a bit more, But he felt more purposeful in trying to bring everyone together, as opposed to just random scenes of him talking to people. There was a purpose as to why he was bringing everyone together, which I think kind of for me felt like a continuation from, what was it, Batman v Superman, when he kept researching and having random video clips. Now you know what was that purpose, and he wasn't like a weird stalker. So not sure how you felt about that part.
Yeah, again, because I was looking at some comparison. I'm like, yeah, why is Batman saying all these weird things in the original? Like, Whedon threw in a lot of weird stuff that didn't need to be in there, for some reason. And that's one of the things I'll give this movie credit for, because it is still overblown or whatever. It made sense, right? It made narrative sense, where the other one was like, what the fuck is going on here? And obviously you saw Batman trying to, because he felt guilty, being an asshole in Batman versus Superman, so he was like, oh shit, I fucked up. I gotta fix this stuff, so, and also remember, he's also trying to redeem himself for what he had become over the years, over the 20 years of being Batman. So that was good. I think they could have played that up a little bit more, but it was still more than we got with the Whedon cut. So that was good. And you're right, he was more Batman-ish than he was before with all those stupid ass jokes.
I wish that we kind of got him being more of a mentor, because to me that would, if you want to set things right, you would teach the next generation, especially if you're trying to put a team together, and the awkwardness of the Flash and him being really self-conscious. I thought that would have been a great scene for them to have to balance out and to talk to Flash and be like, look, I've been there before, because you see in a way he kind of admired him.
Yeah.
So I would have liked that. Any opinions, Mr. Bailey?
Yeah, I like what you just said. Maybe that would have been the goal for a future movie in the series, to establish that particular connection. I agree, they definitely should have did that with Flash and Batman. But in terms of how Batman was portrayed, yeah, you definitely notice differences with the dialogue. The character is a little bit more different than he was in the previous cut. So I definitely noticed that, and I think it definitely, like I said, as Tony and I believe you already said, this added a lot of context to. I mean, with this movie added a lot of context and stuff you didn't really understand before. There was no clarity, so you have to give it credit for that. But just a little bit too long for me.
Oh goodness gracious! So moving on with kind of if they're trying to assemble this team a little bit, you see Cyborg, and Cyborg, as we know from the previous movie, was like literally one scene and a line, and it was like, it just didn't make any sense. And he kept saying, Ray Fisher, the actor, I'm the heart and soul of the movie, and I'm like, you're just being really self-centered right now just because you got cut. I don't get it. Like, I admit I was wrong. I was like, you're overreacting. The movie was bad overall, but what exactly was you bringing to the movie? And then we saw what he brought to the movie originally, and I felt that he was completely justified. I would have went scorched earth on Warner Brothers, just as he did with everyone. Unfortunately, we will not get a continuation of that story because he went too scorched earth. But this one, yeah.
Oh no, continue. I have something to say after you finish.
Uh-oh.
So this one, was a massive improvement, and Zack Snyder really kept saying he was the heart of the movie, and now we know why. We get to see not just Cyborg, but we get to see Victor Stone, and how he was basically a happy kind of teenager. He had problems at home with his family. His dad, because he was a scientist, always working, he wasn't there. We saw him at his football game, and he wasn't there. The father wasn't there. And he kind of never really felt like supported by the dad. And we kind of see that there was this big car crash that killed his mother and almost killed Victor. Victor was like 1/16 was left of Victor. And he was hanging on by an eyeball, essentially. And, his father had the mother box that he, had for a while now that he discovered. They came through, what was it? I think it was the Nazis and traveled through time. And he was able to save his son, Granted, it wasn't the best save, but it was the best save for that moment. And he was able to live. His father, did the best that he could, but Victor always felt like he didn't like it. Basically, he felt that he was just a machine. He wasn't himself anymore. That he should have died. He blamed his father for just not letting him die. Since I left, that's how I got it. And to me, I felt that this was how you create a superhero. But I would have loved to know this before. We spent a lot of time with exposition, and I really wish that we would have got this in a separate movie. We technically would have, if you remember the original outline where DC outlined all of their movies like Marvel did, except for they lived up to none of them. They didn't release any of them in any of that order. I think this year we would have gotten the Cyborg movie. It was supposed to launch like a couple months ago, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so it ended up, she's basically saying, with great power comes great responsibility, kind of. And, he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to just be depressed. But he does end up, going inward and listening to his father, who left the voice recordings behind because he refuses to see his dad. And it kind of explained, like, you're not just this robot. You are this man who can connect into anything. You can change everything from missiles being launched to how we run our economic infrastructure to anything that basically requires an internet access. You're not just a dude who plugs into things, you're not a phone charger. You can control basically the world. And what we see is this really important scene that I kind of love, because even though Victor is struggling with his new identity and his new body, and he hates his dad, we see that in the scene, there's this woman that he's been following, kind of creepy, but whatever. He's been virtually stalking because, we have a camera on our computer, a camera on our phone, the camera in the street, so you're able to follow everyone. He's been following this woman who's got a evict. She has a kid. She has no money. Her bank account is like $11. She's basically us before the recession. And she, he goes and he follows her, and he's able to put $100,000 into her bank account. He says, oh, you won the Gotham, I don't know, contest. And she's like, yay. And it shows how, yes, it's monetary, but monetary can change people's lives. And there's a scene, he feels really great about himself, and he's walking away, and there's the two couple. Remember the couple? And they're like, oh my gosh. And at first I was like, wait, is that a racial thing? Where like, oh, it's a black man down the street, let me run away? Or was it the fact that he looks like a robot? But either way, I loved how they did that scene, because he's slowly growing into his new self. I'm not sure how you felt about the journey of Cyborg in that moment, but any thoughts?
Yeah, that was great. I was actually mad that wasn't like, like a movie of its own. I don't think it should have been. Okay, again, I'm going to keep repeating this. All these origins did not need to be in this movie. They could have been their own separate things, right? And yeah, that dude Ray Fisher, right? Dude's fucking awesome. Great actor. I was like, damn, you really get that from the original one, because my man's like two scenes, He
had the grave digging scene, and remember the scene when they're in that big thing trying to crawl out the tunnel?
Yeah. That was it basically. So you had him, you had my man Joe Morton, Dyson, from a Terminator 2. Guy's always been amazing. So like, it would have been really cool to see like an entire movie of those two going back and forth. I thought they had some real good chemistry there, and it's just upsetting that we didn't get a full film, but we did get this at least. And yeah, he kind of was the heart of the film in a way, because he did tie it all together, and he was also had that kind of youthful exuberance. Once he got over his depression, he was like, yeah, let's go, let's save everybody, let's use our powers for good. So that was good. And yeah, with the woman, that was a simple little scene. Like, yeah, he is showing his heroism, despite him being all like depressed or whatever, he's still trying to be a good person, By the way, I didn't think about that scene where he was in the rain, because I was like, because my first thought was like, hey, it's a crazy cyborg dude. People are going to react. But I'm like, what if he was a white cyborg? Would they have reacted differently? Maybe they would have been freaked out, but not as much as like, oh man, it's a black cyborg shit. Let's walk across the street.
But it's just that you hear so many times of like, the white woman clutching her purse because the black guy walked by, and they were so dramatic with it. But I was like, also, he's a freaking robot walking down the street.
He's a robot. I think that's what because remember he had his hood down. So it was like you see all this shit going on. It's like that ain't no special effect. That's real. So, but yeah, I know it's silly, but I'm like, what if he was a white cyborg? Would they have been less freaked out? I'm just saying, but yeah, no, Cyborg was good. And again, it all tied into everything because he was in all the key scenes. He was the one that got the mother boxes separated. Superman obviously came in and got.
He was the mother box.
Yeah, but my man came in. He was like, "Yo, Superman, get your ass in here!" Like I like that. I like, that was really good. Yeah, Cyborg, all that, everything with him was great too. I really enjoyed it.
Bailey Jr.
This is where the mini rant comes in for me.
Oh, let's go.
Okay, Ray Fisher, excellent actor. I am very disappointed that they decided to take this path where you don't give this guy his own movie. And what I have been seeing online, as everybody has been watching this movie, everyone is saying, "Oh, it's an amazing movie. It's just as good as Avengers." That comparison should not be made because Marvel took time over the 10 years to introduce you to every single character, and then story arcs that started in the first movie, in the first individual movie of that character, would end in Avengers and continue on. So it's like when I saw Ray Fisher, I thought he did an excellent job. I was very disappointed that it felt like they had to add this because they rushed everything in this movie in terms of adding these origin stories. Like you only see his mom. His mom is in the movie for, I guess, all of 5-6 minutes. You see her at the game, talking to the principal about her son. And then the next time you see her, she gets in a car accident. So I feel like if I was a DC representative and I knew that they were working on a Cyborg movie, what I would have done is have the Cyborg movie establish the origin story. And then you can, at the end of that movie, have this whole thing about him now having a disconnect with his father. Then when you release the Justice League movie, you continue that story arc and close it off where he finally is at a place where he has peace with his father.
Yeah. That
would have been better instead of throwing it all into this movie. And that is, because I really don't think they needed to rush anything. But obviously, I feel like DC saw what Marvel's plan was. They said, we need to have this Justice League movie come out as soon as possible because they knew that the Avengers movie was coming. So it's unfortunate. I think Ray Fisher definitely needs a lot more credit. He was right to speak up, but I guess he isn't going to be in any other movie, so it's unfortunate. But yeah, they should have handled this a lot better.
And even just talking about, there was a scene where he was in school with the mom. He hacked the computer in order to change his friend's grade. Mm-hmm. And she was like, this is why you don't have the resources that the person couldn't just easily, get an A. There's certain disadvantages that this person had. And he then wanted to make it right. So his heart was always in a good place and he was always there to help people. So it wasn't even like, oh, he randomly just went into a bank account. He was always that way and was always trying to help someone. And they took that out. Mm-hmm. Good Lord. On crackers. So yeah, moving on, because that right there, so you understand. In part also he was the mother box. Sorry, he's a motherboard too, but he's the mother box, which kind of explains his importance of being in the league. If you're trying to get something with the boxes, he's the only one who knows how to get inside, literally. So that right there, to even cut that out, because things just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, there was another thing. Now moving on to Barry Allen, as we know, the Flash. In the Flash version, he was just there for jokes. It showed that he was insecure, but he was just there for weird jokes and for falling on top of Wonder Woman, which was just a weird scene in itself. And so it never really panned out. And then it was like the thing about, oh, would Wonder Woman date me? Like, ugh. Anyway, so, in the original version, the Flash has to touch the mother box, which turns the water into gooey thing, which kind of awakens Superman. That was essentially just his power and his own only purpose in the original movie. But this one, as you said before, we've kind of seen him as someone who's really insecure of his powers and insecure of who he is. And then we got the scene, which I didn't feel that it worked at all. Um, Him trying to get a job, he was getting different jobs in order to help his father, who is in jail, as we already know the backstory thanks to the CW. But he would, he was trying to get all these different jobs to get money in order to help his dad. And one of the jobs he had was being a dog walker. And he was, there interviewing. His resume was all crumbly. And during that time, there was a car accident in which Iris West at this time was whatever. I forgot her name. Anyway, so Iris was going.
Yeah.
Iris West? Okay. I'm like, Alan West, okay. So, Iris was driving away. There was the truck driver who was distracted because he dropped his crappy sandwich on a dirty floor, which I'm like, ew, I wouldn't even eat after that. But he dropped the burger, and that's what caused the accident. They hit each other. Iris goes flying at the car. Barry Allen, who was like already googly eyes with her to begin with, sees the thing happening, and in slow motion, so many slow motion scenes. In slow motion, he, goes and rescues her by petting her hair, playing with her hair, petting her face. Hot dogs were flying everywhere, flying in her face. He grabs the hot dog, puts it in the pocket, and he basically rescues her. And throughout the scene, for me, was just too drawn out and unnecessary. I'm happy for the actress who got her chance to, get her moment and shine, and we already know that she's going to be in the sequel, or basically to lead the solo movie. But for me, I just didn't like that scene. It didn't work for me. It kind of felt really awkward with her and the hair and the hot dogs and, him going back and like, I have a meat snack, as if nothing happened. So how did you feel about that? I see Richard's already like, nah.
Yeah, Kirstie Clemens, very good actress. I've seen a lot of her work. You've actually interviewed her before also.
I interviewed her for Scoob.
Yeah, so I was glad that she got to be in the movie, but this was a scene. I understand why it was taken out, because it didn't really add a lot to, particularly their relationship. Again, in the solo movie, they could have established this in the Flash movie ahead of time and really built up the relationship between those two. But again, I understand they just wanted to hurry up. Let's introduce the character. People already know who the Flash is, so this is how they got him onto the team immediately so he can play his role. But I didn't like the scene either. The hot dog felt like it was a dirty joke, like they was going to go somewhere else with that, and I didn't understand why that was in there. So
Razor.
That just threw everything off of me.
Yeah, it's a silly scene, and it went on for like 50 minutes. Like it was so long. It's like we get it. He likes Iris. He has super fast powers. That's cool, but they could have done it so much better. They could have handled that so much better. And that was like another scene where like a car accident happens. I'm like, yo, this is a dangerous universe to be driving in. You get your mother killed. You get hot dogs thrown everywhere. You got to be careful in the DC universe, man, with them drivers.
But at least one thing.
What's up?
The truck driver that caused the accident, that must have been one hell of a cheeseburger.
Yeah, right.
Like, he dropped and said, "Oh, let me just stop looking at the road and grab my food."
That thing must have been really good, or he must have been hungry. I was like, bro, I wouldn't even bother that scene was so contrived. I didn't like it at all. That's what it is, because it was just built specifically for that to happen. It didn't really serve the character in any way. It was dumb. I got nothing really to add. It's just stupid.
It was terrible, and I guess it was to set up his humor. I don't know, but it didn't really make any sense to me. No. So yeah. So moving on, kind of from that scene, we're going to talk about Aquaman. Aquaman, he had problems in both of the versions. I felt like, to me, I thought they was trying to do too much, and because we already had the Aquaman solo movie, I felt that his scenes would have been fine if they would have remained the same for me, because we already established this character. But I guess it was the original version, and as we know, in the original version, Aquaman comes out much later. So with this one, it felt like, it was weird. We know that Arthur, kind of protects this little seaside land in Iceland, and he's always there to give them fish. And the women for some reason really adore him and love sniffing his shirts.
Why were they singing for 5 minutes?
It was like I said, it sounded like a Bjork cover band. I didn't understand it. I guess that was his theme song, but then we never heard it again, which was extra weird. So it was like, I don't know if they meant it as, how you like people who worship gods, how they sing and pray to that god. Maybe that's what they meant, but it was just really weird where the woman just like took up his shirt, was like it was just weird. It was like a Febreze commercial to me. And not sure how you felt about that, Richard.
I want to see Thor versus Aquaman, so Thor could beat the hell out of Aquaman.
Ow.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I like the actor. I mean, Aquaman had his own movie, so that's cool, but it really didn't add anything to this movie, in my personal opinion.
No, but I will say this: that Aquaman scenes are kind of focused on setting up the tension. That we later get to see, but we already know the tension. But that was later addressed in the Solo movie. So in terms of timeline, because this was supposed to be 2017, the original cut, I guess it would make sense. But again, to me, it felt like they was just throwing everything at you at this movie. You have William Dafoe. He's more in this movie, where he tells Arthur that he's the dad. He tells Arthur what's at stake for both everyone on the surface and in the ocean if Aquaman does not step up and fight. And, you have to go and fight against Steppenwolf. So you can kind of see where that scene in regards to this movie would make sense, because Aquaman is like, nah, I'm good, son. I got my women sniffing me. And his dad is like, no, you're not good. This is you're going to destroy everything. So, and also on top of that, we get more scenes with Mara, Amber Heard, boo. But, he talks about his mother and the role that she would have played. And, we all know about what happened to Origins with that. And it kind of, for me, when you watch his scenes, you kind of see that James Wan, the director of Aquaman, kind of took that exact same beats from the Justice League Zack Snyder version and continued it with the other story. So that, to me, I felt like it was good. It had a lot of problems, again, because we saw the Aquaman movie. Tony, how did you feel about that?
Every single time they had to talk, it's like, whoop, here's an air bubble. Let's talk. Yo, they did this shit like 6 times in a row. So dumb. I'm like, if you guys are like underwater creatures, how do you communicate normally? Do you always just roll?
Well,
like,
wait. You remember the Snorks?
Yeah.
The cartoon. Didn't they use air bubbles in order to talk?
I believe so, but they didn't use like air bubble powers to separate. Like, and I because I only saw it once. I saw it with Dana. Like, how did they talk underwater in the Aquaman movie? I thought they didn't do that stuff. I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember that either.
Yeah. So it was like they like, okay. On one hand, I understand scientifically you can't talk underwater. Like, Mira, she would communicate it by some like fucking dolphin sounds or whatever. That's fine. But and I understand the purpose of the air bubbles, but it was just so gratuitous and dumb. It's like, oh, here's the talking scene now. It's like, all right, bro. So I didn't have too much of a problem with the Aquaman scenes, partly because Jason Momoa is the man. I like, you see this dude on screen, you're like, yeah, let's fucking go, man, kick some ass. I've been a big fan of his ever since Stargate Atlantis, right? Great in that too. Ronan, obviously Khal Drogo, you already know, and he's great Aquaman. But he's very different in the comics, but I like him just because he's Jason Momoa. But they could have cut some of that stuff down. And Willem Dafoe, I like Willem Dafoe. He was hamming it up too much, acting wise. I'm like, yo,
it was terrible.
Like, tone it down a little bit. I didn't realize this movie's corny, but calm it the fuck down, man. Like, like, look, you see other people, they're at least trying over here. He's like, you have to save Atlantis. I'm like, all right, this ain't Spider-Man, relax. And I will say this is not, I mean, yes, it's related to the movie, but also listen, very conflicted about Amber Heard. Because on the one hand, the woman is fine as fuck. I love looking at her, but at the same time, she's an evil, vile person in real life. So it's very conflicted. Johnny Depp, brother, I don't know how you dealt with that, brother. But we're not gonna get that
on drugs. We're not gonna get there, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm Aquaman, so I had no complaints just because I like I like Jason Momoa, so I can't complain too much. But Willem Dafoe needed to calm me the fuck down.
It was a lot. It was all you was hamming it, ham and cheese everywhere.
Ham and cheese.
Did you say something, Richard?
Oh no, yeah, I gave my thoughts previously, and I think Tony wrapped it up very nicely. Amber Heard.
Amber that hurt now. And if there's anything else you want to say about any other parts, also let me know. Interject.
Okay.
Don't talk too much.
Yeah.
So then we kind of get the whole premise, as we know, is to awaken Superman. And we have Lois Lane, and that was a weird scene with Lois Lane. She's still grieving, she's sad, but it was also a very important part that I kind of loved. But then they're throwing random things at me. Lois Lane has not been back to the Daily Planet since Superman's death, which we didn't know that in the first movie or the original cut. And we see that she's very depressed and she's grieving, which is normal. She's a scene where she gets a knock on the door, and it's Martha. Remember that lovely name, Martha. Anyway, so her and Martha have this wonderful talk about you have to start living again. And it's a really kind of mother-daughter scene, and you get emotionally really feel for her. And Martha goes to leave, the door closes, and it's not Martha, it's Martian Manhunter. To me, that felt so random. If you are someone who's never read the comics, if you've never seen any of the DC TV shows, I would not have known what was going on. I would have been confused. How did you guys feel about that? Because I was just lost if I didn't see that.
It was stupid. It was dumb. And I like me some Martian Manhunter. He's a great guy, but he just randomly just shows up in this movie, And I think that it undermines that scene, right? Because I like that scene. That was a good scene. But then you find out, oh, she never had it with Martha. So then how does she explain that later on? They never get to that. Like when she meets the real Martha, imagine they're talking one night. Oh, Martha, thank you for getting me out of my slump. It really helped me out. She was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Dances the whole time. So yeah, that scene, that should have cut that whole scene out, or at least reworked it in a different way. Because that, again, I like Martian Manhunter, but he had no business being in this movie at all. It was just like
it was just a weird way to.
Just like they threw in Deathstroke the Terminator later. We'll talk about that, but it's like some of this shit and the don't get me started with that epilogue. Why?
I had a problem with that battle scene. Well, because he comes up again. Any thoughts, Richard?
Hey, go ahead, man.
Yeah, the only thing I will say about Martian Manhunter, once again, this is the same issue we've already addressed, that trying to throw a lot of things into this movie that was unnecessary. And it would have been better if we had a Martian Manhunter movie or had him play a role in another DC movie before Justice League to understand the character, the motivation, so on and so forth. But again, we're just throwing him in this because we're going to try and set up Justice League 2 and 3, which I guess is possibly going to really be seriously discussed between DC and Zack Snyder, should they decide to bring him back to do those two movies, which would make no sense whatsoever, since the universe feels like it's being rebooted with multiple movies, with multiple versions of superheroes. I have no idea. But Martian Manhunter, yeah, I could only think of they added him in there so that they can expand upon his story in a sequel. That's it.
Well, this is why I think they did it. Let's see if I can get it to pop up. If you're able to see, this is the original release dates for everything of DC movies. So we had the Batman v Superman was supposed to drop March 25th, 2016. Then following that, we were supposed to have the Suicide Squad, which is August 5th. Then there's the Wonder Woman, June 23rd, 2017. Justice League Part 1 was November 2017. The Flash movie was March 23rd, 2018. Followed by Aquaman, which was July 17th, 2018. Shazam, April 19th, 2019. Justice League Part 2, so this was separated, was June 14, 2019. The Cyborg movie was April 3rd, 2020, and then the Green Lantern series was June 19th, 2020. So I feel because they did not follow this at all, as we know, as a result, they just had to, lash dish effort to throw everything in there to get the fans talking. And through those fans, they would pressure the studio to get the movies released. Because that, to me, that's the only reason why they would throw in these characters that had no connection and you just didn't know unless you read comics.
Mhm.
How you
Yeah.
guys felt.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
this movie, when you watch it, you have to put it in the context of the year it came out. This is not a 2021 movie. This is a 2017 film. You have to put it in that. That movie came out in this form. They still would have had to cut some. No theater would have shown a 4-hour movie. It would have been like
No.
This would have been 2.5 hours.
No, it could have been
three tops, right?
Three, because they gave Peter Jackson 3, and even Return of the King wasn't that 3.5.
That was 3.5. That was after you had built up all that faith. This was still establishing faith with people. That's why I said that. Endgame was like 3.5 hours, right? But you established that faith. So let's just say the original version of this would have been 3 hours long. All that stuff they set up would have been justified with all these movies coming out afterwards. So again, you have to think of it like, don't think of the Zack Snyder cut that we saw right now as like giving us a preview of what's to come. Show us not a preview, a view of what would have come.
Well, he did that. It reminded me. Remember when Ryan Reynolds leaked the footage to Deadpool? And it was that fight scene on the bridge in order to pressure the studio to actually release it. I felt that.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, you have to just keep in mind everything filmed here was supposed to be in the original. So it was supposed to be a roadmap of what was to come in the years that came before it. Obviously, things could change nowadays. It could be like, hey, why don't we do this? It could still be that. And if it's successful, I don't know how you're going to measure the success of this. It's not in theaters, but if it's successful, whatever that means now, but whatever metric you use for streaming, maybe it'll happen. Maybe Zack Snyder will get these movies. Who knows? But I don't want to speculate on that. But I think it's just important to know that, or keep in mind that this movie is not showing you what's to come. It's showing you what would have come had Zack Snyder's vision been put out there. And I want to toss this in real quick because it's kind of related. I know they couldn't have done this because this is the Hollywood industry. It's called the industry for a reason. You have to keep things going, right? But I think it would have been better if they had waited a year, right? Let Zack Snyder mourn, right? Because that's the reason he dropped from the film. His was it his son or his son, right?
His daughter, right?
Daughter. Yeah, daughter died. Give this man a year. Let him grieve. Do the film. They should have released his version of the movie, not that fucking Frankenstein. I'm not saying this movie's any better. I mean, it is better, but I'm not saying this movie's great. But it would have been better if they have gotten his vision out there instead of, because the Whedon one is. You think this one's bad? That one's even worse. At least the Snyder one makes like narrative sense. Even if it's like ham-fisted or whatever. But that would have been better. But anyway, so little. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Sorry. Okay. So, sorry. Thought it was fisting part. Basically, this is when we kind of get to a weird part. If I'm sorry if I'm jumping all over the place. It's 4 hours. It's hard to remember everything. But then there's a weird kind of scene where, it's kind of the nightmare sequence kind of beforehand, where it shows that there's another version of the timeline. No, it was like a weird dream that Batman is having where Steppenwolf is killing Aquaman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was killing everybody.
He was killing everybody. And it showed like another, I guess you would say, timeline of that, which felt jarring because I'm like, what's going on here? But essentially, it was basically Batman's fears of what's what could happen if he doesn't get this team to straighten up, act right, if we don't defend and we don't win. And we kind of saw weird nightmare scenes before in the previous version, and to me, it didn't make any sense what was going on. I know it was one of those scenes, especially in Batman v Superman. Yeah.
Oh no, continue. I have a comment after you finish your thought.
Oh, so I know that we saw like in Batman v Superman where Superman was running around killing everybody and Batman was being held hostage, and so we kind of got that continuation of Batman's nightmares, which kind of to me felt like the pressure Batman faces if he does not win and defeat someone, and how bringing this team together, and if it fails, what could happen. So I thought it was important, and it made much more sense to see the weight that Batman is under mentally and how it's affecting him. Richard.
Okay, I just want to make a comment. I understand exactly everything you said. Maybe I'm the only one that will think this, but stuff like this was a little hard for me to watch, because when I saw this, I instantly thought of, well, Tony Stark was having all of these visions of the things that were going to happen in the Avengers movie. And I understand this movie came before the Avengers Endgame, all this other stuff. That's fine. But it's when you see how well it has been done in the competition, and then when I see it again, it kind of feels like, obviously, like Tony said, this is a 2017 film. But with them releasing it now, it kind of feels like I'm thinking, did they go back and look at what the other competition is doing, and let's say we need to have something similar, but obviously we're going to change it completely because it's our universe. It kind of feels that way, even though it's not. But I just wanted to make that comment because that's what I felt when I saw that whole thing with Batman. It's like, obviously Batman didn't die like Tony Stark did die, but and didn't sacrifice himself and all this other stuff. But it's a little jarring to see that when I've already seen Avengers and a lot of things look similar. Like you go back to, they had that whole battle sequence with Steppenwolf when he was going against all the different factions, the different groups of people on like a battlefield. And I instantly thought, wait a minute. This reminds me of something I've seen before. Avengers Endgame, perhaps? Infinity War, perhaps? When everybody was going after Thanos in his army, it kind of felt that way, even though it wasn't. But that's why I just say it's a little... That's why I don't understand why this wasn't released sooner. It had been released a long time ago. Don't wait until 2021 to show us what it actually was supposed to be, because then it made me feel a certain type of way about it. But yeah, that's all I was going to say.
Blanca?
Yeah, you mean that whole battle scene? Like, yeah. Again, you had all these characters that would have been cool seeing them if they already were established in other movies. Like you had this big dude from 300 walking around, and I'm like, at first I'm like, is that Hercules? Who is this dude? And then you see a lightning. Oh, it's Zeus. Okay, that's why he looks like Hercules. Okay, I get it. Then you had Hades. Hades was already established in the Wonder Woman movie afterwards, and then you had like the Atlanteans. You had like the Earthmen and shit. Like it was just this big. It's funny. Like, yes, it is reminiscent of Endgame and all that, but the first thing I thought was like the thing that inspired all of that. It was like, no, it's the Lord of the Rings time. Here we go. Because Lord of the Rings inspired that whole like two armies coming together, bam, all that shit. So like, here's the big Lord of the Rings moment. Again, it looked cool, but it would have been nice if we had some like prior context, because we could have been like, oh shit, and they had a Green Lantern just rolling up. That was really cool. But there was a lot of dreams in this movie. Batman's like, yo, you have some fucked up dreams, bro. They're very convenient dreams too, because they just keep warning us about what could happen. So that was like, it was too much with the dream stuff. Like that scene in the past, that was necessary. By the way, I do need to make this complaint. Very historically nerdy complaint, right? So this is supposed to be 5,000 years ago, right? And you have human beings running around with steel swords. This is the Bronze Age. Swords were made out of bronze. Just got to get that out there, and they look like there were some Germanic tribes. Those guys were not that united back then. So I was like, why are those swords glinting like silver? It should be bronze, bro. But every movie that makes that mistake, so I'll forgive it. It's like bronze. Anyway, I don't know. It was cool. Scene the battle was cool. It's fine. Again, Zack Snyder does that shit well, but it would have been nice to get some establishment before that. But at the same time, just to be fair, it does show you the stakes of what's going to happen. So in that regard, it was good from a narrative standpoint, but it was also like, again, like a lot of this movie just felt forced in.
Mm-hmm. So also one of the scenes that was kind of important was the whole mother box scene. So they go and remember they cut this out before Star Labs gets broken into, because they are the ones who has the body of Superman, from my understanding, right?
Yeah.
So Star Labs has the body of No, he doesn't. He doesn't have the.
No. He's in the graveyard.
It's the mother box. He's in the graveyard. They have the mother box. That's where the mother box is at. And so they break into Star Labs in order to get the mother box, which is, kind of important because it uses to wake up Superman. But they cut that. So they go into and they have this lovely scene where Cyborg is able to hack into the system, pretend that there's, nuclear gas, whatever, is going to pop off. It doesn't. Joe Morton, who plays the dad, he's in there saying like, "No, this is not real. Come back." Everyone's fleeing, and you kind of see, the whole team together, and they're going in there to get the mother box, and you see that Joe Morton recognizes his son, and he's like, "What's up?" And even though that one little line, that one little head nod, it establishes so much in their relationship. So that was very important. And so you have them, and they end up bringing back the mother box and finding it, and then bringing it over to that area of where they have to, reawaken the Superman and kind of that watery goo thing that we saw that they was able to put his body in after they digged it up out of the grave, which I thought was like a weird scene because, again, you still had that weird Flash saying, "Hey, Wonder Woman's hot. You think she would date me?" So that was kind of weird still. And they have a conversation between, Wonder Woman and Batman. It's really nice how, again, Wonder Woman is the glue, and she just gets along with everyone, and she's there to help everyone. And you have them have that nice little conversation. And this was the scene where the goal is to basically for the Flash to generate enough electric charge in order to touch the mother box as it hits the goo in order to bring back Superman. And everything seems to go, normal according to plan, except for Flash misses the window. But he's also able to rewind time in order to hit the mother box, which was something that was never explained. And it also shows that he has the ability to manipulate time, which is the whole point of Flashpoint. So to cut that out, I don't know, but they did. And so we know that he has to generate all of this power. He's able to do it. He rewinds time. Superman awakens, and he's not really happy about that. Not sure how you felt about that scene. Anyone?
Yeah, that was and I'm saying this as a Superman fanboy. That was my favorite scene of the previous movie and favorite scene of this one. Superman just wailed ass. He fucked all of them up, And my favorite scene was still in there, right? Where he's holding, I think it's like Aquaman and Cyborg, I believe, and Wonder Woman. He's holding all of them back, right? And Flash, he's like, man, I'm gonna run behind this motherfucker, get him, right? So he's running. Superman looks at him like, I see you, man. Yo. So, yeah, he couldn't even touch Superman. The Superman, he's not as fast as Flash, but he's close. He's very close. So it was cool to see that Superman is going crazy because he's just been resurrected. He doesn't know what's going on. He's fucking everybody up. He's Batman. He's about to kill Batman because obviously it was like, yo, it's your fault. I got killed in the first place. Son of a bitch. Lois comes in. Everything. Yeah. Lois comes in. He hugs her. He gets that good smell in front. He's like, oh man, some good stuff right here. And they fly off. So yeah, they fly. That was a good scene. I liked it, and it was kind of funny. It's like Flash just became like the super battery, basically. Like, let me run fast and charge it up, But again, that's scientifically accurate. According to science, something that goes faster than light will go back through time. So he's moving faster than light. He's going back through time. So that actually does make sense. But at the same time, it's also like a Deus Ex Machina that they used to revert time when they lost, because they did lose at the end of this movie. They united the mother boxes. The Earth was fucked up. And Flash like, nah, let's do a Superman one here and rewind time.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, that was good. I like that scene. What about you, Rich? Superman fucking everybody up.
Oh yeah, that was a highlight for me. Like with you, a highlight for me for the last film and this film, because you have to establish. They already established the Superman. They need him in order to have a fighting chance. But obviously, and this is good, you have to also establish that Superman comes back and he does not forget about what happened with Batman. So it made perfect sense for him to go against everybody to really reinforce the theory of how powerful he is, why they need him. He doesn't need them, but they need him. So yeah, they needed to have that in there. So I didn't have any issues with that.
Oh, a quick question. Was it Superman that viewed Cyborg as a threat, or was Cyborg the one who saw him as a threat
Cyborg
first?
was the one that, Cyborg's like systems were like, oh shit's a threat. Because remember, Superman was fine, and then Cyborg attacked him unwillingly. He didn't want to do it. He's like, fuck.
Because he was like, oh, you're scanning me. And I'm like, did the scan trigger Cyborg?
Yeah, no, it was he was scanning him. Maybe it did, but yeah, but it was basically
he was able
Cyborg.
to see the hearts.
Yeah. Because he was like, oh, he's scanning us, and maybe the scan did trigger Cyborg's like systems, but it was the attack that got Superman rolling. I think he would have been fine. He probably could have talked to him, but instincts kicked in. He's in an attack. He's fighting back.
Mm-hmm. So another scene that they cut out, they go home. Him and Amy Adams, they go home and they have that really nice talk. Which, backtracking really quick, she had a pregnancy test, but they never reflected upon that. So the whole time I was just waiting for her to say, hey, I'm pregnant. Because remember when she goes in the drawer and she sees the Daily Planet work badge?
Yeah.
There is a pregnancy test that's right there. So I'm like, why? What's going on? I was waiting for like the scene from like Injustice when he's like, I can detect 2 heartbeats. And he never did that. Weird. That was weird in yeah. But as we see, Superman comes back and he has the all black outfit, the super suit, basically, which helps boost his solar charging abilities. So that would have kind of been really nice if they kept that suit in the original, because that's why he's so strong and amazing. So anyway, he disappears for a while, and that's kind of when we get this big battle scene between Steppenwolf, and he's really trying to charge the mother boxes. He was able to get them all back, and he's trying to charge it, and they're trying to stop him. And they have like this really great moment, and they're getting their behinds whipped. I mean, they're getting slaughtered and destroyed, and everything is a hot mess. And you're like, oh, they're gonna die. And Darkseid is like, haha. But then there's that one moment when he's about to kill Cyborg, because the goal is for Cyborg to get inside of the mother box in order to destroy it, and for the Flash to come and to charge it. But the Flash gets hit, and it's this horrible thing. It knocks him out. He's wounded. It takes for a while for him to regenerate. And we kind of see this moment where Steppenwolf got his little axe, and he's right there, right behind Cyborg. And then all of a sudden, Superman is like, nope, not impressed, because he hits him instead. How did you feel about that moment?
That was dope. That battle was dope. Like the whole thing was really good. But it did pull what I call a Dragon Ball Z. They got to get Goku. Got to keep him out of the fight for as long as possible, right? So there's drama and tension. And then when things are hopeless, get Goku in there. It just reminded me of that. But Superman's basically, Goku is basically Superman. So it makes sense that they did that. But because they waited till the last minute to bring him in, but it was good. It was very satisfying. But at the same time, the other Justice League, they could have easily been like, all right, Superman, you got this, bro. No, they came in there to help him out too. The whipping ass. I like the whole scene, but it also showed you just how powerful Steppenwolf is. Like, yo, you can step up as Superman. This is crazy.
Yeah,
it was really good. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah. The action sequences, this battle sequence. Yeah, I don't have any issue with that. That this is what I think the people who are fans. This is the type of content that they came to see.
Yeah.
So no doubt about it. Zack Snyder delivered with that. It's just the journey to get there is a very long journey. You have to be prepared to see everything, all the context, understand all aspects of what's happening in the story. I understand that, but I still think it could have been trimmed down to get to those moments. But when it got to it, yeah, that was an excellent payoff to see the fights take place.
And also, it was really interesting that they don't portray the villains as being like the dumb nitwits. Even when we got to the Parademons, the parademons themselves, because they was the one, remember, he took out the Flash. He knew what the Flash was going to do and that he needed to charge. And he was able to take that gun machine thing, frame it up and know to shoot him. So we get really smart villains and their sidekicks. So it was really nice to see. But again, I kind of felt with the parademons, unless you follow the comics or any of the cartoons, the animated WB versions, you're not going to know what the heck is going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, they did not do a great job at explaining that. They threw in a lot of things that they did not need, and then there was stuff that was like you still didn't explain, like what's a parademon. So, and I had to learn that through watching Constantine. So, yeah. By
the way, real quick about that scene, it was just because again, I'm a video gamer. I see things through video game lenses, right? That scene with the gun, mounted gun, like that happens in every video game. You're fighting the bad guys, and you get to their mounted gun that they've been fucking you up with this entire time, and you get to their mounted gun, and you start using it on them when the next wave comes in. I'm like, all right, we're playing the Division right now. That was kind of funny to me.
Oh, and also really quickly, there was a voiceover conversation that they kind of removed from the other movie, because this whole scene was basically removed, that was between Jor-El and Jonathan Kent. And you saw his two dads.
His two dads, yeah, exactly. That was good. I like that.
His two dads having that conversation.
Man, I felt that, man. Think about it. Both of his dads are Robin Hood, which is crazy, Like, if you really think about it, Kevin Costner was Robin Hood way back in the day, right? And then Russell Crowe, so, and then when you heard that voice, it just made me think of Gladiator, Russell Crowe, power,
Right.
So
and it also kind of showed, like, he's the son of Earth and he's the son of Krypton, and they both embraced him.
Yeah. Field of Dreams, man. Kevin Costner. And think about it, that's where Superman was in the Field of Dreams, Good stuff.
So before we get into the 30-minute epilogue, was there any final thoughts about what we've seen so far?
I'll give a quick rundown. So I like the second half of the movie a lot better, because that's when the actual main story kicked in, right? And it was just crazy action from beginning to end. I like that. The action in this movie's fantastic. That was great. It's just those first 2 hours were a slog, because the whole time I'm thinking, like, this shouldn't have been here. This shouldn't have been here. Should have been his own movie. Should have been his own movie. Even my favorite scene in the film, the Superman resurrection scene, should not have been in this movie. Superman should not have died before this, right? If I would have did the DCU, this is what I would have done, right? Every character gets at least one movie, but preferably 2, right? Then you get this movie, right? Then you get the sequel with Darkseid, and then Superman dies in that one. That's how I would have done it, because then his death would have been earned,
Mm-hmm.
Fuck all that resurrection
he was killed
stuff.
by Doomsday.
No. I'm saying again, if I would have done the DCEU, right, give all those characters their own movies, completely eliminate Batman or Superman. That does not need to exist. That movie was only made to fast track to this movie, right?
Yep.
So if you were to get rid of Batman or Superman, have solo movies of each character, right? Mm-hmm. You have this movie. This is basically Infinity War, right? Then you have the second movie, which would be Endgame. Then you kill Superman, right? Then it'd be impactful because you would have seen him throughout all these movies. Then the whole funeral scene, you would have felt it even more. Mm-hmm. And then you could have like their version of Phase 2 be without Superman. How do we deal with all these threats without Superman? And then you resurrect them at the end of their Phase 2. That's how I would have done it.
I like that plan a lot.
Yeah. And then this movie could have been 2.5 hours. It's like, just think about it. The first Avengers movie, right? No bullshit. 5 minutes, we're into it. We're already there, right? Infinity War, bam, right into it, right? This one, 2 hours to get into it. So that's how I would have structured it, and it would have been so much satisfying, But that's what I have to say about that. Again, I'll say this again later, but it's good that the fans got this. The guys who really, really wanted it, but you can't deny that this was a big, messy movie. I mean, way better than the Whedon one, but that goes without saying. But so that's my thoughts on everything up until the epilogue, because I was happy at that point. I'm like, all right, maybe Tony, you were wrong. Maybe you were wrong. And then that epilogue hit. I was like, all right, bro. Anyway, what are your thoughts, Rich, up until before the epilogue?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I mean, the second half of it felt a lot better because I mean, I think as a fan, when you know these people are coming together, you're waiting to see the second half of the movie. I mean, I don't really care too much about having all this stuff about let me go into this origin story. I mean, like I said, if that was a separate film, that would have been better because the character would have been established. That you can get right to the whole point why everybody is here. But yeah, the second half of it was better than the first half. It's still this version of the movie is better because it provided context to a lot of things we didn't have any understanding of when we saw the last version of the movie. So I appreciated that, but again, too long, and it took a while to get to the point. Which, quite honestly, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, one of the things that was a little annoying about WandaVision that it took a while to get to the point of what exactly is going on. But hey, it's all good. Everything
It
turned out
was
great.
about
And
grieving.
yeah,
It's a slow process to grieve.
yes,
I
in
like
black and
it.
white, and we have to see it in every era. Black and white.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
shows the connection.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
mean.
No, I understand that. I understand that. You know, and they had the episode where you reveal all the stuff with Wanda and Agatha, and then it's like, oh, well, everything makes sense now. While we got to this point, but
Yeah. Meanwhile,
yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, bro. 1 minute we're already into
Exactly.
it, you know?
Immediately.
That's what I want. Just get us into it.
Yeah.
Cold-blooded.
Exactly.
Y'all just mean to be. Just mean. So that was for the first 3.5 hours, and then we have the epilogue, which never ended. And in this epilogue, it introduces the wonderful Deathstroke, which he talked about being in the movie before, and he talked about how his scenes were cut, and he just not happy. I thought he looked great in that. And then we also get a very lovely, I don't know, an interesting version of Joker, which is Knightmare Joker, and gone is that weird look that he had in the previous movie where he was with Harley Quinn. Yeah. So with this one, this was weird. This, I want to say, was alternate timeline of what would have happened if Darkseid and Steppenwolf won. Let me know if I'm explaining that right, because I was kind of confused at first, my own self. But this is the nightmare sequence, and this is experienced as a dream that Bruce has when he's waiting for kind of Lex Luthor's files to be decrypted. And this is what happens is like it's post-apocalyptic. It looks like something out of Mad Max. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Injustice. And basically, it's more understanding of the importance of the sequence according to people. I don't know, whatever. So Nightmare is basically an alternate reality where Darkseid he discovers the anti-life equation on Earth. That was the huge thing as to why he was looking for the mother box as the whole purpose for him in this movie. And he ends up discovering it. And upon possession, he kills Lois Lane and he brings Superman. Basically, he destroys Superman. He's not dead, but he gets Superman to worship him, essentially. And the two of them kind of end up going into this weird hellscape where they kill Wonder Woman and Aquaman. That's kind of what I felt was what they was trying to do with this. And so this was kind of the continuation of the previous nightmare scene that we saw before. If hopefully I'm explaining that right. So then basically it was Mira, the Flash, Cyborg, and then also Deathstroke. They're trying to save the world. And then it was like I think I might be jumping different scenes because it was 80 of them. But we had that Lex Luthor was still in prison from before. And the guard is trying to come in to get him, and we realize that it's someone else. And instead of it being the Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor, there's a random one. And Lex Luthor is actually on his yacht, enjoying the best of champagne and caviar. And Deathstroke comes to him and is like, why am I here? And he's like, oh, I have the name of Batman. And I think you can work for me and everyone will be happy about this. And he tells him that it's Bruce Wayne. Then there's another weird scene. We have, I think it's an extension of that where we have with the Joker. And this is a much toned down looking Joker that we've seen previously. He kind of came off as a meth addict. This one is just like a man who just looks like he's actually insane. And so with this scene, this kind of means that I might be confusing it, but he gets the whole weird laugh. He's inside the prison. It's like a weird laugh. You see the door. Everything is weird, and you see that him and Batman are still not getting along. He basically is like basically saying, you need me to help you to undo this world that you created by letting her die, and her die being Lois, and that they're explaining how she suffered too. And so I guess this is to say that Joker and Batman have to work together in this world, and that they're going to have to overcome their obstacles. And Batman ends up revealing that Harley Quinn died in his arms, but begged Batman to give the Joker a slow death. So I'm going to assume that Joker killed Harley Quinn. And then we have like Batman dropping the F-bomb because it's post-apocalyptic, so screw the world. So he's running around cursing at everything. And then it's weird because he wakes up from his nightmare, and we see that he is instead at his nice little house. It looks like a lakeside. This is present day, and we find that Martian Manhunter is outside, and he's basically saying, if you ever need me, I'm here. And he warns Bruce that Darkseid will be coming back looking for the anti-life equation, and that he wants to join the Justice League. So there's a lot to unpack. It kind of seemed like, we knew that Zack Snyder was setting up, it was supposed to be a trilogy. And so these were supposed to be the scenes for the next two movies. He did say in an interview one time that he regrets that there was no Batman-Joker confrontation. So I guess this scene would be that the scene that he really wanted and wished for. This was a new scene, from my understanding. They brought in Jared Leto to film this scene. This wasn't something that was already originally cut. He came in because he did a lot of interviews about it. He came in and he did this scene for him. So, I'm not sure how you face that, but it also implies that Darkseid, he's, returned to Earth, and he's still hunting for the anti-life equation, and that he's not going to be taken lightly. He's serious about this, and this is kind of the future of what can happen if he does win, which kind of means that this is a really present threat. And the fact that Lois Lane is dead, Superman is just a hot mess at this point, which again reminded me of Injustice. So how do you guys feel about that?
All right. Let's break down this whole epilogue, because it was a lot. So right after they defeated Steppenwolf, right, we had pretty much a montage of what all the heroes did after the fight, with a really nice narration from Joe Morton, Silas Stone, right? Really, that was good. Yeah. That was good. I'm like, hey, this is cool. This is cool. I like this. Then we go into the Knightmare, right? Which is, by the way, the whole scene was not unnecessary because it was just Batman dreaming. It wasn't anything consequential, right? We had actually no, you're right. Before that, we had the prison scene with Lex Luthor. You find out he's gone. So my man Deathstroke shows up. And he was like originally like, nah, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna hook up with you. You're fucking crazy, Luthor. You look at your shaved head, man. And then when he tells him like, well, I know who Batman's name is, then he's like, cool. Then we get to the Nightmare scene, which is it's the future. Darkseid got that anti-life equation. Lois Lane dies. Superman goes crazy. And now he is the movie didn't specify this, but Superman is working for Darkseid. That's what happens, because he gets to a point where he's like, fuck this. I'm just gonna, rule Earth, with him. That's what's going on there. And then, you had those characters, and then, they meet Joker at the end of like a broken highway, and you had that really stupid scene. I didn't like that at all, but this is retarded right now. That whole scene, they should have been cut. It did absolutely nothing for the film. Like, I didn't like it. And then you had, Martian Manhunter shows up like, hey, I'll join the Justice League too. I'm Martian. I got powers. Like, all right, bro. And I believe that's where the movie ended. The whole epilogue, I like the, everything that Silas Stone was saying, the narration. By the way, I'm going to assume Cyborg had a little bit of like Mother Box powers, because remember, they said Mother Box could bring things back, right? Because remember, he touched the broken table.
He is a mother box.
He is a mother box. So yeah, you're right. He's a mother box, so he could do that. I want to know the extent of that though. Like, can you just go to your father's grave and bring him back? Oh no, there is no grave. He's materialized. He was atomized. Oh yeah, he can't bring. There's nothing to bring back. He is atomized out of existence. Because I was like, if he had a body, can't you just touch it and bring it back to life? Just because you're a mother box. They work for Superman. But yeah, the whole nightmare scene was stupid. I didn't like it. It was dumb. It served no purpose whatsoever. Rich, what'd you think, man?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I thought it was dumb, especially if there is no long-term goal to actually, I don't know, revisit this universe, revisit Zack Snyder's idea of what the Justice League is, how the story should continue. So that's why I question, are they actually going to revisit this stuff? Because to me, if you're not going to revisit this stuff, why have this convoluted ending to say, oh, the story is going to continue? Like, my whole thing is, we knew they were going to release the Snyder Cut. That's fine. But I don't know what DC's plans are for Martian Manhunter movie, any of this other stuff. I don't know what the long-term plans are. So I feel if you don't know about that, why would you release that to have fans thinking, oh, well, this can continue Justice League 2 and 3. And then if the fans never get it, then they'll be angry. But other than that, I would say, yeah, I was confused. I know people loved Jared Leto's Joker. I know Dana is a huge fan of that Joker as well.
He's all about another Dana, not Abercrombie.
What's this Dana? What's going on?
Well, the thing is this. Jared Leto is an excellent actor. I feel as though he gets put in a lot of movies where he's not able to show his full potential in the roles. And I know in Suicide Squad, they did not do enough with that character at all. So, and that's why I feel that they brought him back to have him involved. But my thought is, why have this scene unless you actually are going to really explore this in the future? So I'm curious to see how they move forward explaining this stuff. But I will say that, I do like the actor that plays Martian Manhunter, so I hope that he gets an opportunity to get some more work. But aside from that, yeah, I it is what it is.
Well, we are getting the Green Lantern Corps.
Okay.
For HBO Max. Yeah. We're getting a bunch of TV series. Just no in weird movies like 20 Batmans, but different versions.
Well, yeah, because the Batman is done, right? The
Batman
Robert.
Yeah. The Robert Pattinson one's finished filming. I have no idea what's going on with the TV show.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, but that seems, I have no idea what's going on with the Green Lantern show either. But yeah, that's what we're supposed to be getting.
Interesting.
And there's a bunch of others. There's more than just that, because they had the AT&T press junket thing, and they announced a slew of that and how people from Suicide Squad are getting spinoffs. But yeah, I felt that this whole nightmare scene again was doing that. Look at what we have and what we can do. Release the Snyder cut again for 2 and 3. Just let him finish it and be done. I mean, you screwed him over. But it's Warner Brothers, and they was like, we're done. And then Zack Snyder said, I'm done with Warner Brothers. He went through a lot with that one movie, and then watch your movie, even if it sucked, kind of got destroyed by another director.
So I just want to make one quick comment. I know a lot of fans are happy to see this version of the movie. That's great. And then they're asking the question of why this version wasn't released. I think they need to be also asking the question of who made the decision to say, we're not going to release this version and we need to have Josh Whedon come in there. And those people need to be held accountable for this.
Ray Fisher announced everyone. It was Jeff Johns. It was Walter Hamada. It was Josh Whedon. He announced, remember, he just spilled it all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, everyone that he named was responsible for this. So,
Bad decision.
So that should be everything that we covered on our thoughts. I'm surprised that Tony didn't start screaming and throwing things.
I've been screaming for 3 days, so I think I calmed down. I got it, But I said what I wanted to say. The movie was. Again, I'm glad that the guys, the Snyder people got it right, but it's still a slog of a film. 4 hours. I'm just glad they made it into chapters because I could not watch that whole city. That's a Herculean feat right there. So no way couldn't have done that. The first half was just a mess, and again, what ultimately this movie's problems come from is one, the fact that it's a sequel to Batman vs Superman, one of the worst movies ever made, and it trashed, absolute trash, and the fact that it shouldn't have existed in this form. Again, I'm going to keep harping on this until the day I die. You should have had movies establish all this. You know what? Maybe DC could correct this. Maybe they could just hit the reset button and really do this right. Because come on, you had all these iconic characters, you had, again, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, this is a movie that should have been the greatest film of all time, right? But they fucked it up because they got greedy. They wanted to be like Marvel, but you did it the wrong way. You should have been like Marvel, and then when Marvel didn't follow their blueprint, they knew what they were doing. Instead you wanted to be like Marvel and be like, what's the lesson they took from Marvel? Throw a bunch of superheroes in a movie. People will go for it. And they missed the entire point that the reason you cared about all those heroes in the same movie is because you had already set them up. They completely ignored that. And this is why every other shared universe completely fails. Marvel's is the only one that works, because they establish, everybody tries to rush it. No, you can't do that. Why rush it? You could make more money off of more movies instead of 3. Oh my God. So at the end of the day, again, great that the people got it, but it should not have existed. WB fucked up, and not just with I'm not talking about the race of this movie. I'm talking about the way they handle all the DCU. They messed that up so bad. And I say this as a guy because these motherfuckers on Twitter talking about, oh, you're just a Marvel stan. I love DC. Yes, I do like Marvel more. Don't get me wrong, but my favorite character of all time is Superman, and I own more Batman comics than any other character. Don't give me that bullshit that I'm a Marvel stan. Marvel's great. Love me some Marvel. That's my favorite company, but I love DC. They hold a very special place in my heart, and it's just heartbreaking what WB's been doing to this universe, so that's why watching this I couldn't get that out of my head. It's like, oh my God, you fucked up. You could have made those last 2 hours mean so much more if you had set everything up properly, but now we just have what could have been instead of what is.
Yeah,
that is very true. I have to agree with you. Just take your time. Don't rush. The fans will always still be there. The money will be there.
Yep.
So yeah, they should have just did that, but they did not. So we got this, and I don't know what the future will bring in terms of the other DC movies. But yep.
I do want to make one recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
If we ever do get Zack Snyder Justice League 2 and 3, please. I do not want to see this in a 4:3 format.
Oh my God, we didn't talk about that. This is in the 1980s. Why is this shit in 4:3? And I know some motherfuckers be like, oh, because it's in IMAX. No, this was streamed to homes. This wasn't in theaters.
But it's to give you the IMAX film. You watch on your 70-inch TV, and you're like, oh.
No, it was bullshit. I missing stuff from the sides. It was dumb. That was so dumb. This is. If this movie would have been released in IMAX, sure, but at home, we got widescreen TVs. Make it fit widescreens, even if and by the way, the whole time I'm looking at the whole movie, right? Top and bottom. I'm like, there's nothing interesting going on there. Slice that off, crop it out. That's it.
Exactly.
Dumb decision.
The integrity of Zack Snyder's vision.
Dumb. But you're right about that. It's if you're gonna go all the way with this, adding on all these unnecessary things, may as well just keep it in that weirdo aspect ratio, But that was stupid too. I was like, really? We're doing this? If I'm, here's the thing: if I'm watching a show from the 1980s or whatever, sure, that's the way it was filmed, right?
Exactly.
This is 2021, bro. Come on, Rich, what do you think of the 4:3 aspect ratio, man?
No, I agree 100%. It's like, yeah, for anyone that has a 4K TV or 70-inch, 60-inch, it's like it doesn't make any sense. At least give the, I understand they want it to preserve the integrity of his vision, but there should at least be another version. If you should be able to watch it in another format, and you don't need to necessarily watch it in the 4.3 format. And I do think they have enough money where they could have at least made that happen, which says, okay, we'll offer it in this version, but if you want to watch it in 4K, whatever, or then you can switch to that version instead. But that's just my opinion.
With the integrity of his film and his vision, y'all are just mean. It was the overall theme, like, hey, Zack Snyder was screwed, but we're gonna unscrew him by giving you this format. Golly. All right, so that seems to be our thoughts, our opinions, our rants, our loves of the Zack Snyder Justice League, 20 years in the making, and it's finally done and over with. So, anything final?
I don't know. I said what I need to say.
It's like I'm done.
Oh, no.
I can't even recommend this movie. I'm like, no. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much.
So mean. Okay, wait. Well, Richard said he's telling all his friends and family. And
No. I've already. People was asking me about this, and I told them, well, if you have 4 hours you would like to waste, then you can go ahead and take those 4 hours. But no, in all seriousness, it's I'm glad the people that wanted this movie got it. Shout out to Mr. Torrance Davis. I know he was very happy to see.
Oh, Torrance is in for a fucking cloud 9, man. He is loving it.
Yeah. So I'm happy for those people. For me, I can't wait till next Friday. And if you know why that is. That's all I have to say.
We all know why. I think it has to do with soldiers and winters.
Exactly. Yep.
But thank you very much for joining us on our discussion talk about this movie. Once again, we are the Koalition. You can find us at thekoalition.com, the Koalition with K. I am your host, Dana Abercrombie, joined by Editor-in-Chief Richard Bailey Jr., also joined again by Mr. Tony Palanco. Please plug in all of your plugs, like Cyborg.
Yes, I will plug into the mother box. All right, so if you want to find me and all the things I'm up to, make sure you go to my Twitter at RomuDeath. I believe it's on there scrolling, right? And in my bio, you're going to see links to all my stuff. I write for PC Mag, Laptop Mag, and I host the Throw It Down Show podcast where we cover all things video games. Thursday is when we cover all the gaming news. Sunday is when we answer your questions. And we don't do any more spoilers, so this is as good as you can get right now. So that's pretty much it. If you want to see me rant more about this movie, because I probably will, check me out on Twitter. Don't mind the fanboys because they've been coming at me. They've been coming at me hard, But hey, I got to keep it real, man. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Dana. This is a lot of fun.
No problem, and we'll see you again Friday, where we will talk about a soldier and a black man who flies. So, thank you, everyone, and have a great day, afternoon, evening, or whatever time you're in.